We're going to go into detail about how to break down the cost of your cloud spend so that you can better understand where that money is going, and where to invest more, and where to cut. You'll quickly get a better understanding on how to recapture some wasted costs so that you can compound that savings and put that money to better use. So how can FinOps help your company save money, month after month? Here's the problem. You want to break down the total cost of your cloud spend to understand where all your money is going. You can break it down by cloud account, and then break it down by cloud service. But then what? How do the costs of these cloud resources make up the whole bill? How do I relate the cost to my business? Am I really receiving the business value of the cloud? Option number 1. Your cloud spend is optimized, resources are efficiently managed, you know which applications your costs are coming from, and you are monitoring those costs with budgets and forecasts to ensure your costs are in line with revenue. Fantastic! This is what you want. Or option number 2. You don't know how much you are spending on your projects or applications, it's not optimized, and therefore your money is being given away unnecessarily to your cloud provider. How do you find out how much money you're giving away? Well, do a free savings estimate to see how much you could save. How do you do that? It's simple. Generally, storage and compute are going to be your biggest cloud expenses. Let's start with storage. First, you check for unattached volumes and delete aging snapshots. Then, you move object data to lower cost tiers. Third, take a look at the NetApp solutions on AWS and Azure or the file store solution on GCP. They provide cheaper storage options for data that hasn't been accessed by your team in a while. This will lower storage costs significantly without sacrificing performance. Now for compute. Terminate idle resources. You know those resources that your engineering team spun up months or even years ago that are no longer being used? Yeah, those. Find them and clean them up. For the resources you are using, right-size them. What does that mean? The way I like to think about it is like potential energy. If you are paying for the energy to do the work, but you are not using it, you're wasting money because you are paying for that extra power every month. You do that for multiple applications in your account, and you've got a lot of waste. We want to give that money back to you and compound it. P.S. If you're serious about your sustainability footprint, you want to reduce your energy consumption and improve your efficiency as much as possible. The other way to reduce your energy consumption, without a whole lot of effort, is with the resources your developers are using. Your full-time developers are working 8 hours a day. Unless you have employees around the globe working on those cloud resources all day long, you can turn off those services, saving you more than 2/3 on that energy consumption every month, saving you energy and money. That's a win-win. Good for your business, good for the planet. Do this now. Cloud providers have different pricing tiers based on flexibility. The pay-as-you-go model allows you to easily adapt to changing needs. But if your resources are not changing, you can save when you commit to use a specific amount of services. Go look at your cloud bills breakdown by service. If it doesn't change by much every month, and you are on the pay-as-you-go model, commit. This can lead to massive compound savings. To recap the free savings estimate: storage optimization, check. Compute optimization, check. Stop resources when developers aren't using them, check. Get off the pay-as-you-go model, check. Take a moment to think about the money that's already flowing out of your company and into the pockets of your cloud providers. Imagine what it would feel like to keep more of that money in your pocket while still achieving or even exceeding your business objectives. Picture the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're making the most prudent financial decisions for your company's future. If you want to find out how much you can save with your current cloud environment and then start compounding that money you may be giving away to your cloud provider every month, sign up to speak to one of our FinOps experts. If you needed more reasons, then it will save you money. It won't cost you any. It's completely free. The sooner you start, the sooner you can start compounding available savings. Implementing the recommendations from the free savings estimate will free up capital that can be invested back into understanding the return on your company's cloud investment. You want to understand how all the costs of these cloud resources make up your entire bill, and how these resources your teams are consuming relate to your business. The more mature companies track these KPIs better, not only for cost optimization but for innovation in security and automation as well. To do this, you break down your cloud spend to allocate costs by application, by project, cost center, compliance requirement, anything you need to measure. How do you do that? You define mandatory and discretionary tags, or labels, that go on every one of your resources. First, mandatory tags. Name, the resource name or unique identifier. Owner, who is accountable? Is that a team or an individual? Business unit, which business unit does the resource belong to? Environment, is the resource in development or production, or used somewhere in between? Cost center, Which account or budget is used to pay for the spend associated with this resource? This is important. When you know which resources are budgeted for properly, you start to understand how the cloud services your teams are consuming are making up the whole cloud bill. More on budgets and forecasting later. And compliance requirement. Does that resource contain, use, or store any kind of sensitive data? PCI? HIPAA data? You want to ensure these resources are tracked and operate within a specific set of privacy and security requirements and best practices. Next, discretionary tags. Workload ID or name. Which application or workload should this resource be grouped with? This is how you relate which cloud services your teams are consuming to your business. This is how you can understand how much every application in your cloud environment is costing you every month. This is power. This is control. This is visibility, which will scale throughout your cloud environment and continuously monitor in just a moment. Project ID or name. Which project is this resource associated with? After all that time and effort, is your project profitable? Is the revenue you're pulling in from this project growing faster than your costs? This is how you determine the business value of the cloud. A few others. Workload tier. Is this resource mission critical? Is it confidential? Or is it just used internally? Backup. If it's mission critical, you may want to increase the frequency of your backups. SLA. If your resource requires any type of service level agreements with your service providers or your customers. And lifespan. This tag tracks the lifetime of the resource. If the length of time specified has passed, these resources should be reviewed, updated, or decommissioned. Then what? Well, you'll want to group these tags or labels together so you can understand the resources for which applications, which projects, or which teams are contributing to the majority of your cloud expenses, month after month. These are your dollars you're giving away. Know where they go. However, when you do this, you'll hit a problem. Some resources are being used for multiple applications, multiple projects, or multiple teams. Think databases or network traffic, for instance. That's okay. Share the cost. Just split the cost for those shared resources evenly across all the applications, projects, or teams to start. We don't need perfection here. We just need to be directionally correct. Inevitably, other new applications, projects, and other innovation will be deployed in your cloud environment. This is what you want. We want to stop giving away money unnecessarily to your cloud provider and use that money to fuel new experiments faster. The goal is growth. So when you bring on new resources, you want to make sure they are tagged and labeled properly to start reporting on them immediately. If not, alert. Let's recap. Go through all your resources and ensure your mandatory and discretionary tags are labeled on every one, or as much coverage as possible. Check. Group the owners, applications, and projects together to get an understanding for how much your cloud resources are costing you, month over month. Check. Measure those costs with the growth in other areas of your business. Check. Make sure your costs are not exceeding your growth. Basic, but only understandable if you tag your resources first. Check. Now, how do you stay on top of your cloud spend moving forward? Making sure that the effort and best practices you just put in place doesn't get lost with new resources coming online. How do you prevent that within 6 to 12 months from now, you have the same problem where you don't know how much your new resources, applications, or projects are costing you? Or that your existing costs you just got visibility on remain within budget? To solve for this, you continuously monitor. What does that cover? At a high level, it covers budgets, forecasts, reporting, alerts, cost optimization, and compliance. Let's dive in, since arguably these areas are interrelated. With tags on your resources, you can group them together. So now you can set a budget on that resource group since we know how much those resources cost. Based on those budgets, we can forecast the spend for the month for those resources. Then we group these resources based on cost, applications, projects, or any of your other KPIs. We can report on those costs at a more granular level. This is how you stay on top of your cloud spend over time. We can automate the monitoring of these costs by adding alerts. This will send messages when budgets or forecasts are expected to be exceeded, or when anomalies in your cloud spend are detected. For example, after a code push to production. This helps alert you to changes in costs quickly so you can investigate these cost increases before they compound daily. You don't want to find out at the end of the month when you receive your cloud bill these costs have added up before being detected. We want to get that cloud spend back before it is wasted. Be sure to get that continuous monitoring in place. For cost optimization, we want to automate a lot of the free savings estimate checks we started out with. Evaluating your resource utilization, your auto-stopping rules for developers, and your commitment levels. This way, those issues don't recur in 6 to 12 months as well. And for compliance, you want to make sure you have automated checks in place to report on your untagged resources. You want to be able to understand which resources violate your policies. You want reports and alerts in place to become aware faster. You reference dashboards to have the visibility to know, rather than to guess. And you and your teams remediate changes before they compound. With today's evolving business needs, mastering your cloud spend is no longer a luxury, but a necessity. Use our free savings estimate to start saving 20 to 30% on your cloud bill in the next 6 to 12 months. It doesn't cost you anything because we'll perform the scan and do the implementation for free so you realize the recommended savings. You can then use a portion of that savings that you take back from your cloud provider to cover the cost of the continuous monitoring checks. Then use another portion of that savings to increase your tag coverage to understand your cloud spend better and find more cost savings opportunities. You will increase your agility, your visibility, and will likely still walk away with savings to fund other business growth. If this sounds fair to you, and you want to sign up to find out how much, or how soon, you can start compounding your savings, fill out the following details to speak to one of our FinOps experts. If you needed more reasons than it'll save you money, it won't cost you any, it's completely free.